I got my guy Daniel Daly here from the Basketball Soapbox to talk NBA as the finals are tomorrow. Um, I think it's going to be a great series. Honestly, you can go either way with who you pick. We'll save the predictions for the end. So I actually did watch yesterday the game from March. I believe it was March 1st between the Mavs and Celtics because that was the game
Oh, okay.
after the trade deadline. I think it was a couple of games after the trade deadline. Now, I don't want to read too much into it because, again, they didn't really have their rotation set. Gafford barely played that game. Derek Jones wasn't starting. But a few things I took away. One thing I noticed, they really are going to need Porzingis in this series because what he was able to do in that game, shutting out the defense, having Lively come all the way out there, hitting a bunch of threes, he just opens up so much things for the offense, and that's essentially what they brought him in there for. Once he came,
Yep,
he
yep.
just brought the offense to a whole nother level. So I want to ask you: do you think that the Celtics can win if he's just relatively healthy, Porzingis?
I think he's going to have some type of relative impact regardless, right? Because at least he's still 7'3". He's still able to space the floor. At worst, he's able to knock down a shot. So even if he's a decoy, at least to have the defense, you're not going to leave Porzingis open. I don't think that's a wise move. If Dallas was to just load up on Brown and Tatum on the driving lanes, I think even if he's not 100%, he's still going to play some type of vital role. If he's not there, I'm just kind of all in on the Celtics at this point because it's like I've seen Tatum, Brown, Holiday, and White for two months now in the playoffs, right? And they have been able to collectively get it done in those pressure situations where it's been close and clutch and stuff like that. They have been able to rely on their defense, right? They have been able to find ways to win these games by hook or by crook, or whatever the case may be. But I think that if they have Porzingis, I'm more confident in my pick. If they don't, I'm a little less likely. But it's just like I'm still going to believe in the Celtics, man. I think Tatum and Brown want to get back to this moment. And if Porzingis is healthy and coming back, I think he's gonna. I think the Celtics have a tremendous advantage on the offensive end. If he's not 100%, I still think that he's going to be relatively effective enough to give the Celtics something.
Yeah, so yeah. I mean, yes, being out there is way better than him not being there, right? Just him being out there, drawing the attention he draws to open up the offense, right? I agree with that, but at the same time, it's just like on the other side of the ball, the defense, Lavely and Gafford contesting those lobs that Luka and Kyrie's gonna throw. If he's just okay, like he's just like 75, 80%, is that going to be enough
Mm-hmm.
to stop that vertical game that the Mavs possess? I don't know. I'd probably say no.
We're gonna see. We're gonna
And
see
then of
how.
course
We're gonna
they're
see.
gonna probably put him in
We're
pick
gonna
and
see.
roll.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I was just gonna say. We're gonna see early how that leg is, how that calf is, especially with Luka and Kyrie gonna be putting him in those pick and roll situations. If he does try to keep Lively and Gafford driving from the hoop, just box out, get in front, and hope to God they don't jump over you or call a defensive foul in that case. But he's going to be tested early, and I think the Celtics are going to try to test him on their side as well to see how effective he can be and get an early look at soon because you rather know sooner than later if he's going to be effective rather than trying to drag it out. So I think both on the offensive side for the Celtics, they're going to try to see what he can provide, and Dallas is definitely going to see what impact he has on the defensive end. Yeah, so it's definitely Porzingis is a big factor in this series, no question. So hopefully he's able to come back and be healthy for the Celtics.
Yeah, I mean, I would think that game one they're gonna try to ease him in, guessing have him come off the bench, play 20 to 25 minutes. I think that's the safe move to make because God forbid you don't want him to go from to 0 to 100, and then the worst case scenario to
I'm
happen.
on I'm on the other side of that. I think you got a plan. Like if that's the guy that you paid $30 million to, you traded Marcus Smart for, you made a change in this revolutionary offense with him on the floor. You got to trot him out there. Like you got to see what he has. He's had 2 months off basically. I think it was like nearly 40 days off. You got to. I'm just on the side of trot him out there and see what he has because that adrenaline is going to wear off. So I'd rather have it in game one, secure game one, and then if you feel like you can rest them, or if it's going sideways in game two, you can rest them and try to preserve them. But I say you got to go all in. You got to go.
Okay, so you're with the notion that they should start him and
Yeah, start
get
him.
the regular rotation back.
My whole thing is this: like, if you're gonna play him 20 and 25 minutes, don't. What's the point of bringing him off the bench? He's gonna play with Peyton Pritchard and and Sam Hauser in that capacity, or even if it's in secondary role where Brown and Tatum are still on the court, or whatever variation of the lineup is. It's like I don't see any difference of what you're going to get out of 20, 25 minutes. You're going to try to play him the most important minutes of the game anyway. So I'm like, just start him out there. Because if he gets off to a hard start, knocks down a couple threes, the pressure's off. Really, like there's a sigh of relief. Like, okay, he's good to go. And just get that mobility. I don't know if bringing him off the bench or playing him a certain amount of minutes is going to dictate how impactful he is. Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's fair. I mean, yeah, we'll see. But yeah, I mean, I think it's a series that they're definitely going to need his presence, like we mentioned earlier. The media is going up their way to emphasize just how important this championship is for the Celtics. That it's really important that they capitalize off, this playoff run. Giannis was hurt. MB was horrible in the playoffs. Every team they played, the best player on their team didn't play or got hurt midway through the series. But I think you can make a case that it's just as important for the Mavs to win this championship. I don't know more, but I think it's probably just as important because the West is a gauntlet. There is no like short bet that they're going to get back here again next season. I mean, everybody thought most people thought the Nuggets were going to be here, and they got to bounce in the second round. I had the Nuggets. I think the Nuggets personally would have beat the Mavs if they played them. I think they match up way better than Denver does.
Yeah.
So. I mean, I get it. Boston 16 championships. Tatum and Brown's been to the conference finals several times. The second finals appearance. They're on the verge of giving Tatum big money in the offseason. So I guess I see all the storylines on the narrative that they're running with.
The Brinks truck is on
the Brinks truck. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So I think they're just playing to it. But I want to get your thoughts on that. Do you think that this championship is like just as important to the Mavs as the Celtics, based on what I mentioned?
I would say yeah, because one, they are playing with house money. Like no one expected them. I'm not going to say no one expected them to be here, but they thought if they can get lucky in the draw and get a couple rounds and stuff like that, they could potentially get to the final. So there was that possibility of them getting here. Now, in terms of the Western Conference, if you look at the whole scope of things, OKC's still young, still has SGA, Chet, J-Dub. Seems like they're going to be a big three, an organic big three in Oklahoma City. You got Houston. I know people aren't thinking about Houston, but Ime Udoka has that team playing well. And if it wasn't for Alfred Sengun going down late, they probably would have made the playoffs. So that's another aspect of that.
Wemby.
I think I saw something where the Spurs said everybody's available besides Wemby and Vessel. So they're open for business. They're trying to look to improve that team very fast. And you don't know what impact Wemby already had this season. If he had a competent team around him, kind of like Luka Doncic, you could potentially, for their franchise, could potentially get into the playoffs as fast as next year, right? Even though the Clippers are in flux, you don't know what's happening with Paul George or James Harden. They got Kawhi, but he has health concerns and stuff like that. They can be open for business and try to reload and sign and trade and get some guys in. The Lakers, for whatever, better for worse, whatever the case may be, whoever their new coach is, maybe JJ Redick, whatever tooling they're going to try to do and figure out, they're going to be in the mix as well. You got Denver, of course. Denver's looking to retool as well and improve their bench going down the line. So there's definitely going to be those same competitors in the way. But I think Dallas is going to be formidable where they can hang. But it is important for them to try to if you're at the finals, you're going to try to take your best crack at it. And they should try to win it. Because I always think back to way back. Kenny Smith talks about when they had Clyde Drexler against Orlando in the finals. And he was like, they were down in game one in halftime, and he was like, yo, we got to try to get these guys because we don't know if we're going to get them and we don't know if we're going to be back. And that was a little bit where Akeem was a little bit older, Clyde Drexler was older, Kenny Smith was a little older. And he was like, I don't know if we're going to get back. They ended up sweeping the Magic, but they never made it back to the finals. So it's like, you got to it doesn't matter what age you are, you got to take as many opportunities as you can. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And I don't think that Luka's makeup is somebody who takes like moments like this for granted. I mean, yeah, he's 25 years old, but he's been playing professional basketball since he was a teen. His basketball resume is crazy. I remember Kevin O'Connor posted it after they beat the Wolves. This man has been so accomplished. I think that he really wants to like add this to his resume and get this championship. I think it's going to go well with a big fight to get that. It's going to be a tough battle.
Yeah, I mean, Luka Doncic, man, he came to the NBA for a reason. He could have stayed overseas. He could have been like, yeah, I'm not going to Dallas. I'm not going to Atlanta, whatever the case may be. I don't have to go meet up with Mark Cuban and Dirk Nowitzki. He came to the NBA for a reason. It was to be the best player in the world, compete against the best players in the world, and ultimately win a championship. So he's definitely in the driver's seat.
And the money.
Yeah, of
Money.
course. I mean, he could have been
Money
in
never hurts.
Slovenia. He could have been in Slovenia and been like a king. Like he's already a king when he goes back. But if he would have played over there and stayed over there, he could have. There's tons of guys that we haven't heard about that played overseas and are kings over there just by staying home and playing. But ultimately, he wanted to come to the NBA, have that marketability. And when the lights are on, he's going to show up. Like he understands the big moments. He understands. There's no question about that.
I mean, just think about it, man. If you're the Suns organization, the Kings organization, and the Hawks, y'all really passed on Luka Legend. Like that's correct. That's going to go down as one of the biggest blunders we've seen in draft history. Now, I mean, there's no way that we all knew that he would be this good. A lot of people were higher than him. A lot of experts I listened on the podcast were higher than him. Some people weren't. But damn, man, that sucks.
the people like Kevin O'Connor and people that like really study every basketball type that there is, they were high on him. So it was like, okay, I like DeAndre Ayton because I was like, he's kind of strong. He looks like David Robinson to me. Like at Arizona, he was killing. I'm like, all right, that guy can shoot. He can shoot. He can finish inside, play defense, block shots. I thought he was good. He's been okay. He's got to a finals. Kind of went off the rails a little bit. He's in Portland. Okay, I can kind of see where the Phoenix was thinking, pairing him with Booker. Understandable. But now in this new NBA where you have multiple ball handlers, multiple creators,
exactly,
that probably would have been best to get Luka Doncic. As for Atlanta, I don't know. I don't know what they were thinking. Atlanta, to me, they're probably one of the worst franchises. I can't understand where they are as an organization. It's like whenever I think about Atlanta, you always think about Dominique Wilkins and like just think about him. And I'm just like their draft picks and their team building hasn't been the best. Sacramento is really where it gets fishy because I think there was some type of beef with him and Divac between Croatia and Slovenia. All that goes way back into it. I'm like, if I'm trying to win basketball games, I'm drafting that guy. I don't care. And especially he has the international experience. Like, you know who this guy is. Like, he knows who Luka Doncic is. He follows Euro basketball. So it's like, you had an insider track. And that's probably why he doesn't have his job right now. But
exactly.
ultimately.
And I think I saw something about him saying, I think I saw something about Divac saying something about Joker, like he's not an all-time great yet, or like he's not the best, most skilled big man, or something like that. Something negative about Joker. I'm like, come on, guys, we gotta relax.
There's these guys,
I think it was Divac.
There's these guys that like to hold on to their era. Joker can play in any era because one, his handle for a big man, his passing, his vision. Even if he was, when people say the game's not as physical today, even if people were pushing him out to the block, he still has enough to shoot the mid-range, shoot the three, play make, etc. And it's just like we need to stop trying to downplay his accomplishments. You don't become the best player in the NBA just by accident. That doesn't happen. That doesn't happen. You don't win MVPs by accident.
So you think that Joker's still the best player in the NBA? Let's say if Luka wins the championship, what would you do? Because here's my thing. I think right now, I think it's a two-way race between Joker and Luka. If you want to throw Giannis in the mix, I'm cool with that. And I think it's really goes down to preference. If you want high basketball IQ, great fundamentals, you're probably not going to want Giannis. If you want dominance on both ends of the court, offense and defense, you're probably not going to want Luka or Joker. If you're going to want the offense where the ball is moving and not like and your offense is staggered, you're probably not going to want Luka. So I think it comes down all the preference.
As for best player in the world, I'm still going to go Joker. I know he got out in the second round and whatever the case may be, and Luka has this chance to get to the top of the mantle, right? And if he wins a championship against the Boston Celtics, defeats the Timberwolves, has this run with Kyrie, it's kind of hard to argue against it, right? I guess whoever was the champion at that time, especially between those three guys, is probably going to be thought of as the best player in the world. I'm still going to go Joker just because of his size and the advantage from the center position, where he can rebound, create full court passing, get easy buckets. Luka Doncic doesn't always get the easy buckets, and I think that's the one thing I would keep the separation between those two. Like, you can get Luka to have a bad night and shoot low 40%, 30%. You just got to be wary at the end of the game if it's close. But ultimately, if Joker's there, you're going to get efficiency. You're going to get rebounding. You're going to get passing. Everyone's going to get a good shot. He blusters his offense. Not saying that Luka Doncic doesn't do that, but I'm still going to go Joker. And Giannis third.
Yeah.
Giannis had an incredible season. His team just underperformed. So It's going to
Yeah,
be.
I mean,
I think that
I
was.
think I would lean.
Go ahead.
And I think I would lean to with Joker. Because you mentioned, like, I'm still shocked that they lost to the Wolves. I really didn't think they were going to lose that series. But I really think it came down to his supporting cast didn't come through. The bench was they really didn't do them any justice by not upgrading. Once Bruce Brown left, and they tried to rely on the young guys like Peyton Watson fell out of the
They
rotation
they
in
were
that series.
confident. I will say this about Denver: they were confident in their bench was going to develop over the season, and I thought at some
Mm-hmm.
point they were like they should have probably made a move to add somebody. They didn't, but it's just like they were very even when they let go of Bruce Brown and Jeff Green and stuff like. Even if they had Jeff Green, I feel like they would have made a difference. But just ultimately, they decided, hey, we're going to go with our young guys in our second unit because they had a bunch of second round draft picks as well that they were kind of trying to bank on, and it's like you got to have those guys develop really, really fast in order to do that. But if Rudy Gobert is going to hit turnaround fadeaways with the shot clock going down,
That
you
was
got to shrug your
crazy.
shoulders. I still can't believe it. I still can't believe
When I saw that, I'm like, yeah, the series is over. It's one of those series.
it.
It's just, it's just.
You gotta just shrug your shoulders, man. You just gotta chalk that up to the game of basketball, man.
So let me ask you a question about Jason Tatum. What is your assessment on the critique he's gotten over the last several seasons about him, quote unquote, not being clutch? Not coming up in the big moment. I mean, I think a lot of that is solely based on his performance in the final 2 years ago. But I think it was a little bit unfair considering it was his first time there. He's young. LeBron had similar stats in his first finals appearance. So I want to get your thoughts on that.
It comes with the territory, right? If you're the best player for a
Yeah.
historic franchise, you're going to have those heaped placed on your shoulders. I wouldn't say that when the media saying that he doesn't come through, I'm like, this guy has had elimination games on the road against. I always go back to Milwaukee. I think he scored 48. Like you just don't
Yep.
do that.
I
Like
think
that just
46
doesn't.
in Game 6, yeah.
Like that just doesn't happen. Like when guys step up on the road in that hostile environment against the defending champs, mind you, like that just doesn't happen. He's had 50 ball games against Philly last year as well in an elimination game. He performed well in Philly in Game 6 and then got Game 7. It's like he has a resume of both hit and misses, right? Like you can always go back to the NBA Finals. He had a wrist injury, like he wasn't performing his best, but he was out there, right? Like it didn't go as the Celtics wanted. It didn't go as Jason Tatum wanted. So it comes with the territory. I feel like he's on the prominent franchise in the NBA. He's the leader of that franchise, and when that comes with great power comes great expectations, and it's unfair to a point because I'm like we've seen Jason Tatum perform and kill people and dominate. Like we've seen him do that, and he's been able to do this. Maybe it's not the way that everybody wants, right? Like if you look at his numbers and Luka Doncic's numbers over the playoffs, it's quite similar. Similar shooting percentage, similar points, rebounding. Maybe not the assists. Luka has the ball in his hand more. Whatever the case may be, but when people are expecting these great, huge performances, because we always think about Kobe's 48 in Sacramento. James Harden had a couple of big games where he scored 40, even though he's not the best playoff performer. Shaq comes to mind in the NBA. Like you have guys that just have these great games over the course of their careers where they take off, and you just see the ascension. Like you've seen it with LeBron when he scored 29 of the last 30 against Detroit to get to Game 6 in the Eastern Conference Finals way back in 2007. So a lot of the times it's just like everybody wants instant microwave success. And it's like with Jason Tatum, it's kind of been stop and go, stop and go. He's getting to the playoffs. He has a 50-point game here. He has a 10-point game here, whatever the case may be. Not a great shooting night. It just comes with the territory, man. Not everybody's going to play perfect, but I think he's doing all the right things. And I think some people are looking for these big numbers, even though the numbers are there, where this team is more balanced so he doesn't have to perform at a high level as other guys do. Like Luka scoring 40 is a big thing. Like Jason Tatum doesn't have to score 40. And I think that's
Exactly.
the
Team is so balanced on offense that there's way more on like way more of a burden on Lucas' shoulders to put up big numbers as opposed to Tatum, just based on the construction of the team. But yeah, like I said, like 2022, they kind of reminded me of the series of the OKC Thunders back in 2012. I think they got there a little year or two too early. So I thought that was out the books, right? Not last season. You go what you lose in 7 after Tatum does go down like the first play in Game 7 with an ankle injury. Now one can say that they shouldn't have been down 0-3 to begin with, which I agree with.
Yes.
But it is what it is. Now you have the team. You were the best team all season, basically from beginning to end. 64 wins, only lost 20 games in the season, including the playoffs. Now I think would be a more appropriate assessment of Jason Tatum after this series. Just got to see how it goes. Because hey, everybody's favoring them to win, and rightfully so, I think.
Yeah, I mean, now's the time, right? Like, everybody was kind of killing him the first 2 rounds. Like, where's Jason Tatum? When's he going to do this? Brown's doing this. White's doing this. I'm like, he's facilitating and letting those guys cook. Like, why would I want Jason Tatum to force his shot when Brown has it going? Why would I want him to force his shot when Derek White has it going? Holiday got it going. If the greater good is the team performing well, why would he try to overtake that and get in the way with that and try to force a shot and have big-time performances? If the team is playing well, let it ride, because that's going to build their confidence. That builds the team's confidence. Cool. Now we're in the NBA Finals, and it's called upon, and he needs to step up. I'm pretty sure I'm confident Jason Tatum's going to step up. Like, I think he's been buying his time, kind of laying like a cheetah in the grass, waiting for the land to be settled and go attack. I think this is what it's going to be in the NBA Finals, man. I think he's going to have big time performances and step up.
Yeah, I don't see a world where he's gonna like duplicate that performance he had 2 years ago. That's not gonna happen. Another thing I took from the game in March, Celtics were really content with letting Luka being guarded 1-on-1, not going to the shooters, not like trying to double team him and leave shooters wide open. And I was thinking to myself, you know what? Maybe they should put Drew Holiday on Luka. Only because I know Brown's probably the most ideal defender for him, but you don't want to risk getting him in foul trouble. After watching that game, I'm like, oh nah, they can't put Drew on Luka. when Drew was on Luka took advantage of him in the post. Him,
he's too small
White,
to guard Luka.
Pritchard, all too small. Like that's crazy. Like and Drew's a big guy. Like man, he's small. He's small to guard Luka. So I would say White was the original defender. Yeah. I mean, Brown was the original defender. So yes, I think they should go with Brown. If you were Missoula, who would you have guarding Luka starting the series off?
Probably Brown, because Brown's probably going to want that assignment. Like we've seen Brown like step up and try to guard people. Like he has a little edge on his shoulder. Like I'm gonna go get him, and I feel like that's what Brown's gonna do again this series. I feel like you could throw multiple different looks at Luka over the course of the series. Of course, that was one game in March. They had a couple other games earlier in the season, but it's like the Celtics have options. Use those options. It's not going to be one person. It's going to be a team effort. Like Luka Doncic has been dominating teams. Like after we've seen Luka Doncic dominate Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, both of those guys who you would think, hey, they'll go shut down Luka Doncic. Like those guys go get after on the defensive end. And we've seen time and time, multiple series, where that's not the case. They can't do anything with that guy. And those are probably two of the best defenders in the league at that time, especially a couple years ago. So looking at it from that standpoint, it's like I would put Brown on him, try to get him with the size and strength, athleticism, that type of thing. And where Brown has enough strength and muscle on his body to kind of, when Luka gets that drive, to absorb that contact and not just be bounced off. Like we've seen Drew Holiday, Peyton Pritchard, those guys, Derek White, those guys like that. So again, I would put Tatum. I would put Brown on him. I would put Holiday on him. I would put White. Again, I know no switching roles where people are not as confident with Al Horford. I would try to put Al Horford out there in those situations and just live with that and kind of just keep everybody else at bay. But yeah, I'll go with Brown. I think Brown's going to want that challenge. I think that's the challenge Brown takes this series.
Yeah, so yeah, like I mentioned, after watching that game, I'm like, yeah, I think it's best that Brown will guard him. Missoula, I would put Brown on him. And on the other side of the ball, Luka got nowhere to hide. This is probably the first series he's played that you really can't hide him. Everybody's a threat on offense in some way, shape, or form. So I'm gonna guess Drew Holiday. You would put him on. I think White's first step is too quick for him. I would go with Drew and just live with the results.
Yeah, because it's not like, at least if Luka gets posted up by Drew, he can at least use his body to kind of absorb it, like and get in those actions. But they're going to be trying to pick and roll Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving to death. And I think that's what you got to do get him to, if he's hurt, and with the status of that knee's not 100%, and he's been carrying it for 3 rounds, we're going to make him run. You got to make him run. You got to run in transition. You got to get him in those pick and rolls and just wear him down. That's the goal. I think it's simple for Boston, right? Like, try to find that mismatch, drive and kick, create a mismatch where you draw 2 and kick, and hope the shooting knocks it down. Like, the shooting is going to be impactful for this series, especially if they're attacking Luka Doncic.
Yeah, man. Like you said, like
they're gonna have to audible. They're gonna have to audible and find something else, because if he's getting it, obviously you're gonna leave Luka out there. If you're Dallas, you don't really have a choice, but it's gonna force Dallas to try to find a different way to defend, and it's like, that's what you want. You got to try to get them on their back heels early.
Exactly, and like that, Boston, they like to switch everything. They blitzed the second fewest this whole season, whereas Luka's been blitzed the most when he's the ball handler. So it's going to be a good chess match there. I also want to see what they're going to do with their bigs in the minutes. How they're going to distribute those minutes. Because I do think that this is more of an ideal series for Lively. He was great in that game back in March, because he was the starting center. Gafford barely played, like I mentioned. He was great, just like dribbling handoff, rolling to the basket, having his hands ready to catch the lob or catch the ball and dunk it. So I think that this series, you're not going to see that much of Gafford like you did in previous series, and you'll probably see more Kleber as well too out there, because he's pretty good on the perimeter too. Pretty underrated defender with moving his feet out there.
I would say Lively is kind of like how Robert Williams was for us. Robert Williams was in those type of actions where he'll make a pass off the pick and roll, get into the section, make an extra pass. Good passing, good touch and feel for the game, even despite you don't think that. But overall, Lively is a good, crafty. That's why the pick made so much, like, it gelled right away. And Luka and Lively have this chemistry. Kyrie and Lively have this chemistry. I think Gafford is going to be able to survive this series just because of his energy. If he plays hard, he's gonna be out there. Like, they have to find some minutes for Lively's not going to play the full game. Like, and Max Kleber, he's been out since, I believe, the first round, they said.
Yeah, with a shoulder injury, and then he came back in front of you.
Yeah, so it's like him getting reacclimated as well. He spaces the floor and provides a dynamic and a good defender, as you said. If they do get in trouble with Gafford and Lively, you can still play him at the 4 to provide stretch shooting. He's still good enough defensively, so if they want to go that route, they can. It's definitely going to be a mismatch of lineups, right? Because you said their front line, and it's just like, can Porzingis be healthy and Al Horford be healthy? They played well in that game back in March, I believe. Luke Cornett, I know he's an afterthought to most people, but he does play significant minutes. Is he going to be able to come back? I don't know his wrist injury. I haven't heard the status on him as yet. But
yeah, me either. I was going to ask you that.
Yeah, whatever the case may be, it's going to be a good chess match on that front line, and that's something that I've been thinking about over the past the past week or so. How is that front line going to be? Because it is Lively and Gafford versus Horford and Porzingis, and those guys are going to have a big impact on the series.
And unlike the previous series, you got to come out and defend at the 3-point line. There's no Gobert there where you're able to essentially camp out in the paint and be a disruptor to the drives that the Celtics are going to do. You got to really come out there. So it's going to be tough. But they have been a really good job this year at the last 20 games, and then plus the playoffs, of contesting the 3-point line. So that's going to be interesting, because Boston loves to move that ball around and get good shots, or get good shots or get a good shot and then give it up for a great shot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're like you just said. It's a different offensive team that the Mavericks are facing, and that's where I was looking at the shooting, because it's like Dallas doesn't really shoot that many threes. They did get some hot, streaky shooting from Derrick Jones Jr. and P.J. Washington in the past couple of series, but it's like that's going to be vital if they're able to take away the threes of the Boston Celtics. That's going to be the question, because if they're not, it's going to be tough for Luka and Kyrie to be running around out there. And it's going to be difficult for Gafford, Lively to be on the floor at times if those guys aren't able to step up and guard the 3-point line as effectively as they need to. So definitely, again, the front line, I said it was the X factor on my podcast with you. And I was just like, I think that front line is going to, because it affects everything, rebounding, guarding the 3-point line, those pick and roll situations. It's definitely going to play a factor.
Exactly, man. It's going to be interesting to see how this series is going to play out in that aspect. If you have to rank the players, right, top 4, or we can do 5, I think we're safe to say that we have, if you did top five, Celtics have 3 of the top 5 players in the series. If you rank them,
So that's
how would you have? In what order would it be?
So, damn, putting me on the spot here. So that would be Luka, Tatum, Brown, Kyrie. So that's 4. And the next person, it would have to be Porzingis if he's healthy. If it's not, I'm going to go Holiday. Just because what he has to do defensively and offensively, we need him to knock down a shot and defend Kyrie, in my opinion. So those are the 3. So I would say even the next 6 players, I would give towards Boston, right? Like, outside of Luka and Kyrie, you'll probably go Lively as the most impactful, right? Like, what he needs to do on the
Mavs?
Would you go PJ
Or in general?
Yeah, or I'm just saying in general, like, or would you go PJ Washington? Because I think PJ Washington has to play well, but I think Lively really affects how everything works for them. Mm-hmm.
I put Lively before Washington, even though I think Washington is vital for the series with his 3-point ability because he's going to get good looks. He's got to capitalize. He did well against OKC, not too well against the Wolves, although he made some timely shots.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep. So I think I would go with Lively.
I would go Luka. I would go Luka, Tatum, Brown, Kyrie, and then either some variation of Porzingis and Holiday if I had to pick 5. But Boston does have the talent advantage. They do. Mm.
Absolutely. I don't think anybody can deny that. Okay, so I got Luka at 1. I got Tatum at 2. I get Tatum at 2. Stop me on number 3 because I do think, Jaylen Brown is a better basketball player in a vacuum, I think, on both ends of the you can take both ends of the court into consideration. Mm-hmm. He's better than Kyrie, I would say. But for some reason, I think I would trust Kyrie more in the clutch on this stage than I would Jaylen Brown. Now, maybe it's because I saw him on the stage 4 times, really 3 times because he got hurt in 2015 in Game 1 in overtime. He cracked his kneecap. So, we should say 3. But I've seen him on the road in pivotal spots in a Game 5, in a Game 7, come through clutch. Arguably hit one of the biggest game winners in finals history on the road. Mm-hmm. Maybe that's part of my judgment. But I think Kyrie I trust him more in the clutch. Not want to say he's necessarily a better player than Jaylen Brown.
The ceiling. So Brown has kind of risen his game over the course of these playoffs the past couple of years and stuff like that. So you believe that he's better on the offensive end, right? So, but the thing is that potential with Kyrie is so high. Because if he's on, there's no stopping that, right? Like, if he's on and he's grooving and he's hitting those weird floaters off-handed, off-balance, like, there's nothing you can do. And if he's on, I think that's so I'm fine with that because the ceiling with Kyrie's potential is higher. Like, it just is.
Yeah. And then, again, I probably will put White, for me, to round out the 5 spot, just because of his defense, really, and his impact on the game. And it's just like, I don't know. And he gets hot, too, as well, from the 3-point line. He can get hot.
I want him to come back. I want him to come back from that Miami series. I need to see that. If I see that out the gate, I'm like, all right, we good, man. We good.
That man he was all one, man.
He was not missing. He was not missing. He was not missing anything.
Hey, so the biggest storyline I would say was Kyrie coming back to Boston. Mm-hmm. As a fan of the Celtics, how do you feel about Kyrie ever since he departed from Boston? You know, we had the whole thing with the COVID vaccine in Brooklyn, and then some other things as well, too, off the court. A lot of teams looked at him as a liability instead of stepping unlucky, flipping the bird against on the Brooklyn Nets in that playoff series against the Celtics.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people thought that he was an asset as opposed to a liability. Dallas was a gamble in a lot of people's eyes when they elected the trade form at the trade deadline last season. Now, people are saying that this is some redemption tour he's on, and finds himself now as a one of the best complementary pieces to a superstar that we've seen in a long time, probably since LeBron, right? With Luka. Do you have any ill will towards Kyrie, just solely from basketball standpoint?
No. And again, in Boston, it didn't end well. It didn't. Sometimes that happens in sports, right? Like, the relationship doesn't end well. Like, it's just not good. Whatever the case may be, whatever Kyrie was going from in that short, 6-7 month span where he said, hey, I'm resigning in Boston if you guys will have me, to, yeah, I'm out of here. Like, we can't forget that.
But once he said that, I knew he was gone. He was gone. I knew that.
But not like, and everybody was mad and stuff like that. There's a lot of stuff that was going on. Of course, he was talking about he had some family issues, death in the family, and stuff like that. That affected him. I always thought, from a standpoint of that was blamed on. To me, I'm going to blame Brad Stevens, Gordon Hayward, the organization, because during that season they kept trying to put Hayward into the. And I've said this many times, and people just keep ignoring it. They kept trying to put Hayward in the starting lineup. And that affected Brown, that affected Tatum, that affected Rozier, that affected Kyrie to a certain extent. Like, because, of course, they made that run. Gordon Hayward wasn't ready. And he wasn't ready until he's never been the same. He's had some moments in Charlotte, but he's never been the same. So during that whole course of the time, it's like, why do you guys keep relying on Hayward where he's not 100%? And that's not, if you're not 100% to the team and you're not going to be able to be who you are, we can't have you out there. And I felt like too many times they tried to lean on Gordon Hayward, and it's like, we can't lean on him because, one, he's not healthy. He has no chemistry with the unit. We can't keep putting him out there. And I felt like that kind of probably rubbed Kyrie the wrong way. Marcus Morris was there as well, or Markieff, whatever, the Morris twin was there. They were beefing with the young guys. It's like, why would I want to go deal with this? Why not go with Durant and go to a situation where I have full control, where I have this idea of having full control with another best player in the league. I don't have to deal with all this little kid shit or whatever stuff is going on with the organization behind the scenes. I can deal with it. Now, that burned up in flames, but overall, with that whole stuff in Brooklyn, I was fine with him not going with the vaccine and stuff like that. At the end of the day, that's your choice, whatever you want to do. But I kept saying to people, all the Kyrie supporters and anti-vaccines people, I was like, the organization does have that in return to say, hey, you can't play. The NBA does have a chance to be like, hey, you can't play if you're not going to be safe around other people. Cool, whatever. That's his choice. He got out of that, came back. Things didn't go as well. Like, everything was looking well in Brooklyn with him and Harden and Durant those first couple games. Durant goes down, Harden goes down, and then he's like, I want out of here. Basically, it came down to contract negotiations where it's like, you're not going to pay me, you're not going to believe in me. He didn't have much stroke at that point with Brooklyn to be like, hey, you guys got to pay me. He didn't have the stroke. He didn't have the belief in himself and stuff like that with the organization and his trust in him. So, okay, he goes to Dallas. And, of course, everyone hates the trade. I'm like, potentially, if these guys are cooking, it's going to look good because especially the way the NBA has gone with multiple creators, you need guys that can score and create, and it's always good to have two scorers that can get their own shot at any given time. It's always going to be better than not. It's always going to be better than not. It's paid dividends for the Dallas Mavericks. And this whole arc of Kyrie maturing, being comfortable, finding happiness, it looks like, in Dallas and stuff like that. He seems more content. No more, he's not beefing with the media anymore like he was in Brooklyn or in Boston. It seems like it's a much better place for him. And that's something that you just got to just tip your hat and say, good for Kyrie. Now, now in this series, I want him to have the worst series of his life. I don't want him to do well as a Boston Celtics fan. I don't want him to do well, but I don't have any ill will towards Kyrie. Like, we're way past that, whatever hatred people have. It should be by that. He's going to get booed because he stomped on Lucky. He had the sage out, flipped off fans. Boston's not going to forget that. They're always going to treat him as a villain as long as he lives. And that's okay. That's a part of basketball. That's whatever hatred. Maybe that needs to be a rivalry. Whatever the case may be, that's fine. But all that extra stuff where people are going, nah. Like, how people are trying to make it more deeper than what it is and saying he's a bad guy. I never thought that. I just thought he was a guy going through some things at the worst possible time. That's how I look at Kyrie.
Okay, cool. Yeah, my thoughts on Kyrie when he was in Boston, I mean, I thought that he made an honest effort to try to be like a team player in the sense of he was facilitating a lot. He wasn't really being aggressive, trying to get everybody involved. But once his time started progressing over there and everything, he was going back to his normal role as being a outright killer on the basketball court. And I think that was kind of stifling the growth of JT and JB because the ball was kind of stagnant and it wasn't moving in that offense. So I don't think that was an ideal situation for him to be around, and even for JT and JB. I don't think that would have been good. So I think both parties go the whole way.
If he was healthy that year, if he didn't get hurt that year, they would have clicked. But because he got hurt and those guys got those opportunities and he comes back, Kyrie takes 20 shots a game. So that's Rozier losing shots, that's Smart losing shots, that's Brown, that's Tatum, that's Hayward. That's a lot of That's not easy to go back into to a guy taking 20 shots. That's not easy for anybody.
Yeah, man. But yeah, now he's here, and Mavs, it's like a hand in glove fit. I think a big part of that too is Jason Kidd, him being a Nets fan growing up. Kyrie, Jason Kidd is one of the best Nets of all time, point guard too, and the fact that there's a relationship there, and then Nico Harrison, obviously from Nike, goes a long way. And then
Mark Cuban.
Mark Cuban. Mark Cuban is I was always surprised. Like, why don't the Mavs? Why aren't they successful in free agency? They got a great facility from what I hear, an ambitious owner who is young and vibrant. No income tax in Texas. So I know it's not like Hollywood or New York, but it's lit up there. So I don't get like why they always struggled. Because I felt like they did Dirk a disservice after that championship in 2011. They did Dirk a disservice, man.
Mm-hmm. He tried to go after Dwight Howard. He tried to go after Dwight Howard and it failed. So he's always tried to go after people. He's always tried. Mm-hmm. And I was hoping like, oh, it's looking like that it's about to be the same thing with Luka. Like they got Luka some help, and then they took a gamble on Kyrie, and so far it's paid off. So kudos to them because I'm like, yo, you cannot take it for granted like you did Dirk. This guy is 25 years old. He's highly competitive. He wants to win. You got to put the best team around him, possibly. And I think they did a good job with that. With like him and to the point where now, like him and Kyrie, they ain't known for their defense, but they sure as hell give a great effort on the court now. What they did was pair Lively, Gafford, P.J. Washington, Derrick Jones Jr., guys that are willing to go play defense. Like, that's the thing that they did. And again, like, that gives guys confidence behind you. Like, hey, I don't have to just give up a bucket. And at least if a guy gets by me, at least I know there's somebody behind me to help. That's the key thing, where I think that's a big factor for those guys stepping up the defense. And I think it's just a team continuity thing, right? Like, those guys don't want to let those guys down behind them, so they're going to try to step up and give a little bit more effort. You're in contention, you have a chance to win. That winning solves everything. Winning solves a lot of shit, man. So kudos to those guys. But again, like you said, I don't understand why Dallas isn't a bigger market, right? Like, throughout their history, we've heard countless times who they're trying to go after, who they're trying to get, who they're trying to trade, and it just never seems to work. And I'm just like, from every aspect of an athlete, is it Dallas, LA, or Miami? No, but in this economic climate of the NBA, that's a short plane ride away. You know what I mean? Like, Houston's right there. Like, Houston's a party city. Short drive away. Whatever the case may be, you got a business owner who's savvy in tech, on TV, has connections. Why not? If I'm an athlete trying to grow a brand and all this stuff, this era of the brand and everybody trying to make something happen, why not go team up with Mark Cuban and this guy that has this business sense in Dallas in a tax-free state where I can, one, no state income tax, property is cheap. Like, for a millionaire, if you want to build a mansion, you can do literally.
Well, yeah, I'm about to say, because also say, property tax in Texas is crazy high.
Yeah, property tax. You're an athlete.
Yeah.
like I don't understand that. So that's what I'm like. In California, property taxes, like, this tax is high in those areas with no state income tax. So it's like, whatever I don't understand why people don't do it, but it has to come, to me, it has to probably come down to that. Whatever the number is for that, there's something with numbers. Because it's like, I don't understand, like, why people are saying, I want to go live in LA. Like, you're in a position of an athlete making millions and millions of dollars. You can fly anywhere. Like, you can fly anywhere. Like, you can get any first class ticket you want. You can drive anywhere. Like, I don't know. Texas has been weird. Houston's like that. Dallas, San Antonio's a little more smaller market, a little bit more cowboyish, whatever the case may be. But Dallas is a big city, man. Dallas is a big city. I don't know.
Great city, man. I went there for the past game last year. My first time out in Texas. I love it out there, man. So I'm like, this is a dope city. Like, why don't they get more athletes? Why can't the Mavs attract free agents in? Weird.
I don't know.
All right, so we talked about on your podcast X Factors. So get X Factor for this series, right? On the Celtics. I'm assuming it's going to be Drew Holiday. I forgot who you said in your podcast, but I'm going to guess it's Drew Holiday based on the rankings that you just gave. Is it Drew or is it KP probably?
It's Drew regardless. If KP was 100%, I would still say Drew probably. I would probably lean by Drew because you have to stop the Mavericks defensively. Like, you can get buckets and find ways to get your offense going, but defensively, if you can cut off, as I said, Luka's going to get what he wants. He's too dynamic He has the most size advantage against most people. He's going to be the central hub for their offense. But if you can cut off their second leading scorer in Kyrie, now it puts pressure on everybody else. And I just feel like you can do that with Drew Holiday defending Kyrie and giving him some trouble. I feel like that's the one thing that the Celtics have in their back pocket. Like, we know if we can't stop Luka, Kyrie, you're not going to get going. We're going to limit your shot attempts. We're going to make it tough. We're going to make you pass, whatever the case may be. But I feel like Drew Holiday is good enough on that end if Brown is on Luka, where the rest of the defense can kind of handle a Derrick Jones Jr., handle a Derek Lively, handle Tim Hardaway Jr. off the bench, handle a P.J. Washington, who you don't want to have streaky nights where he hits 5 threes out of nowhere, and you're like, what the hell's going on? You don't want to do that, but I feel like if you can stop Kyrie, you have a good chance. So I think Drew Holiday is going to be a big X factor, and especially even on the offensive end, he's going to be able to attack Kyrie, post him up, and try to attack him in that way, and try to get those mismatches, and try to get Kyrie to run around as well, because Drew Holiday, again, corner threes, he's one of the best at it in the league. He's able to get his own shot, and we've seen him be a little bit more aggressive over the course of the past 2 series, him trying to uptick his offense. So I think if he's able to do those things on both sides of the ball, I think he's the biggest X factor for the Celtics.
Okay, I would think that's a great choice, because I do think that the mindset for the Celtics are going to be that, hey, we're going to live with what Luka does, essentially. There's no way we can stop him. There's not really a great matchup for him. While we do have a number of bodies we can throw at him, he's just too goddamn talented. He's probably getting his bucket. If we can slow down Kyrie, it was a lot smaller in frame. He's dynamic, but we make him work harder. Like if he gets like 25 points but takes 23 shots, we'll live with that. I think that's the best case scenario for the Celtics. So that's a good choice. I would go with KP only because we don't know his status. Like, yeah, he's going to play, but what percentage is he going to be at? Because if he's less than, I think if he's less than 85%, I don't think that's going to bode well for the Celtics. They can name at least 85% for them to really have a chance to win the series, in my opinion. And I don't know. I mean, we've seen guys, again, I always go back to KD, had a similar injury. But KD got hurt in the second round, I believe. Came back for the finals in game 3 or 4, and like the first 10, 11 minutes, his Achilles went. So I'm like, damn, like what's gonna happen? Like I don't know, KD. I really don't know. KD probably gonna hold up. Oh,
he was scoring crazy in that game.
Okay, yeah.
KD,
I was like, he's in his bag.
Yeah,
exactly.
That completely changed that series, man.
And then Clay goes down like the following game, or like the following game, or the game after that. So that's my only concern with Celtics. So that's why I will go with KP, and the fact that we need KP. You need KP to be a deterrent at the rim to stop the lobs from happening. They had so much success these playoffs with Lively and Gafford at the rim.
Not only stop the lobs in that case, just provide some type of rim protection. The Celtics don't have any rim protection. That's something that you're going to need against you're going to need some, because Al Horford, even though he tries and gets a couple blocks, Derek White gets to chase down blocks from behind and stuff like that. Derek White, one of the best guard blockers I've ever seen, but you're going to need something a little bit more of that against Kyrie and Derrick Jones Jr., P.J. Washington, guys that can play above the rim and finish at the rim. You're going to need somebody to deter them. We don't have that. So if Porzingis is out there, definitely he's going to be a provider and an X factor, because he does get like 1.5 blocks per game. He does deter shots, so you definitely need him out there.
Yes, I'll go with that. And for the Mavs, did you have P.J. Washington as being the X factor?
I believe I did, yes. I believe I did, because if he's able to shoot and provide that spacing for Luka and Kyrie in a confident hand that they can pass the ball to out on the perimeter and knock down shots, I think so. And then he's going to have to guard Tatum and Brown. I think you're going to have that matchup of who's he guarding, because it's like, they're going to attack Luka and Kyrie, of course, any team would. But if we can attack P.J. Washington now, then there's no way to defend us. There's no way. So I think he's gonna have to have a defensive effort, especially if he's paired up with Brown and Tatum. Like, he's gonna have to give those guys fits and create some type of havoc for them to make it tough for them to score.
Yeah, I forgot about that. So I think that PJ's probably gonna guard Tatum and put Derrick Jones Jr. on Brown. That's just my gut. Because I was gonna start off and then he'll probably mix it out throughout the course of the game of the series. I would go with Lively, as I mentioned earlier, because I think Lively is he's just so down. For him to be this young and have IQ. I mean, we seen in the Minnesota series that play it had to be in game 2, where what led people forget about what happened before the Luka game winner, where he was guarding on the perimeter in space, guarding Ant-Man. He wasn't biting on the head fakes. He was staying down, being disciplined. Ant-Man tried to throw the ball to Miles Reed. Miles Reed relocated it without a bounce, led to the Luka game winner. So his ability to roll, catch the ball, make plays out of the pick and roll action, his effect at the rim on the glass, I think that's pivotal. I think he's probably the third most important Mavs. No, I think I is the third most important Mavs in this series, behind obviously Luka and Kyrie. So I would go with Derek Lively, and that's a lot to put on his shoulders being that young, man. But I think he's built for it.
He's handling it well, right? Like, everybody questioned that pick coming out. Like, why would they pick Lively? Why would they need him? Da-da-da-da-da. And there's no questions of that. You don't even remember draft analysts saying anything. You don't remember anything like that. But ultimately, you also get another element of playmaking from Lively, because he's able to catch, receive, read, pass, go into dribble handoffs, go into a pick and roll. Like, He's good, man. He's good. He's like a big that you want in this type of offense. He's a big that you want on this type of defense. Plays above the rim, and he's young, but I think he's ready to go out there, man. He understands his role. He plays his role really, really well.
Oh, great, man. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. So I think that they're probably not going to start him. They'll probably elect to start Gafford as a series to start the series. I can see at some point in the series where kid might elect to, hey, he's our best option. Let's start him. You know what I'm saying? Give him the start the role. But
definitely if Gafford looks lost out there defensively, if they pulling him away and it's not being effective and they can't play him, I can definitely see that. Yeah.
What a luxury to have like two bigs, have a dynamic big to come off your bench, right? Mm-hmm. All right. So before we get out of this part, we're almost done here. I say we make our picks. You want me to go first, or I can let you go?
I'll
go first.
I'll go first. Okay. I got the Celtics in 6. I think that, again, I just think the versatility defensively is probably going to show up in the series with Holiday, White, Brown, and Tatum. I think Porzingis is going to be all right. He's had enough time off. And I'm just confident because it's just like we've seen the Celtics battle and get to this point, and I'm just like, I don't think they're going to waste this opportunity. I think Tatum's not going to waste this opportunity. I think Brown has a fire underneath him, especially coming off that last series, winning the Eastern Conference MVP. And I just think they understand the moment. I think they're a little bit more confident in their roles. They know where to go. They're confident in each other. They know each person, especially with Brown, White, Tatum, Brown, that they can create some type of offense where it's not going to get stagnant, even though at times it does. They're able to find their shot a little bit more. They're able to find the shot better than in past years. So I got the Celtics in 6, man. And I think Luka and Kyrie are going to put on a great effort. But I just think ultimately the Celtics are going to just overwhelm them with their top 6. I think that's what it is. They have to overwhelm them.
Okay. Like I said in your pod, man, I'm not confident about my pick. I think the series can go either way. I can't remember the last time I wouldn't be confident on a finals pick. It's been a long time. That's how close I think these two teams are. Dallas has come a long way since their last meeting, especially with the effort on defense and their attention to detail on defense. Boston has been the best team throughout this series. Throughout these playoffs, throughout the whole season. 64 wins in the regular season, 20 losses on total in the season. But I'm going to go the team with the best play in the series, the Mavs in 6. I don't think that Luka will allow it to get to 7. Not that he's necessarily afraid of playing on the road in a hostile environment in a Game 7, but the fact that he will just sense that it's just time to end this series, like we saw him do in Game 5 after he missed those free throws in Game 4, came out with a vengeance in Game 5 and just put the series away, essentially in the first quarter, right?
That was crazy. That was crazy. Mm-hmm.
I think their defense, can't jump up a scheme to make the defense effective enough to give Boston a couple of bad shooting nights from 3. Mm-hmm. Ooh, but it's going to be tough. I think he can do it. Luka and Kyrie are going to come through clutch. Mavs in 6. Luka Doncic, of course, wins Finals MVP. Yeah, that's what I'm rolling with.
I'm not mad at that because you take one of the best players in the world, you give him secondary help, you give him guys that play with energy and are going to feed off of him. I'm fine with that. Like, I'm fine with that. It's understandable why people are picking Dallas. People are thinking that Boston's going to have a bad shooting night one of these nights. Like, they're going to give you one, right? Like, that's been the thing about the Boston Celtics. They're going to give you one, right? So, definitely people are looking at that shooting aspect and thinking that they're going to have one bad shooting night or two, and that Dallas has enough guys with PJ, Derrick Jones Jr., guys that can play with energy, Gafford, Lively, that can create a problem. And I do see that. And Luka is a handful. He's been a handful ever since he stepped foot in the NBA, ever since he was overseas. So completely understand why people are confident in Dallas, because Luka has shown that he's a motherfucker. Like, he's that guy. Like, you can't like every time he steps on the floor, even if he's having a bad shooting night, he can change the outcome of a game just like that with his play. So definitely understand why people are looking at Dallas, and especially the way Kyrie Irving has bought in and has been so good with the Dallas Mavericks, the way the guys are playing collectively and beating OKC. OKC was the number one seed. Minnesota was a
The
top
best defensive team in the league.
Ant-Man was on fire. They beat the defending champion, so that gives confidence to the Dallas Mavericks. Like, yo, we can beat anybody in this conference. We've earned our way here, and we deserve to be on the floor with the Boston Celtics. They should feel that way completely. Now, the outcome, I don't want that to happen. I want them to feel like crap and shoot like crap. But those guys are professionals. They're some of the best in the world over there in Dallas, and Dallas has worked their way to get here. So I don't want people to feel like Dallas just is here. They have a chance to win. There's no question about that. But I think Boston understands the moment where they are and can get it done. That's what I'm hoping.
You got Tatum win the MVP or Brown? Because it's all last series to get Brown the MVP. Yeah.
Tatum. I got Tatum. I think he understands the moment.
Yeah, I think if the C's win, Tatum would have to be the MVP of the series. One more thing I wanted to ask you. Yes. Okay, let's say the Celtics do lose, right? You being a Celtics fan, would you feel like
change has to come, whether it's a head coaching change, personnel,
if they were to lose the
series? Because the East is going to get tougher next year. Giannis will be back, Embiid will be back. Maybe the Sixers will get Paul George. Maybe they'll get Joel Embiid.
I'm sure the Bucks are going to make a move. They'll have a full training camp on the dock, and Dame Lillard there too as well. So it's kind of
like they got to take advantage of this moment right now that they were given.
I would say
I know part of their own.
I know this is going to piss off people in Celtics world, but I would not think it's the end of the world. I would say this will be the most disappointed I would be in the past run they have made, because I feel like I'm so confident in this team that they can get it done. Brown and Tatum have grown. It would totally be a disappointment. Now, the only change I would probably look at is probably Al Horford. Maybe the fringes, maybe figuring out a bench rotation if something had to happen. Like, we got to get better in that position because Horford is getting older, even though he's been good. That's the only possible upgrade I can see where you would be like, we have to make a move and try to get better at a certain position. Like, White is great. Holiday is locked up for a couple of years. They extended him right before the playoffs. Porzingis signed an extension. Brown is already taken care of. Tatum is going to sign a big deal. Like, everything else is just around the fringes for me. Yeah, Drew signed before Drew signed before the postseason. So it's like, roster-wise, this should be it. Like, I don't see, even with Giannis coming back, Dame coming back, Embiid, Maxey with their big cap space move, whatever they're going to do. You know, Miami's going to try to do something if they don't want to go into a rebuild. Indiana's been playing well. Orlando's on the rise. Whatever move they make, yeah. But like, if it's like, we should be able to compete with those teams regardless. Like, I'm not concerned about that. So if we do lose, yes, I'm massively disappointed. But do I think that this is going to be the end of the run and that we need to trade Brown and Tatum or flip White or whatever? I don't think it's going to be that. It shouldn't be that. We got to the finals. Those guys are playing on a plateau that you want 2 stars. You don't want to trade, like, everybody that was saying all that crap when the Celtics were losing. Oh, trade Tatum or Brown. It doesn't have to be that. I feel like that conversation should be dead. But ultimately, I think the fringes around where you need a little bit more team depth, maybe that's it. I don't think a coaching change. Joe has earned his stripes. He's shown that he's intelligent enough to, at least to me, to coach this team. Like, I don't know who you're going to go out and go find. Like, that's another thing. Like, whenever these people are trying to make suggestions for coaching changes and stuff like that, it's like, who are you going to get? People say Mark Jackson. I'm like, does Mark Jackson even want to coach at this point in time? Like, people say hire Budenholzer and all this other stuff. I'm like, Like, are those guys necessarily moving the needle for the Boston Celtics? I'm not sure. So it's like, again, I know everybody wants, like, Ime Udoka was the coach for the Boston Celtics. Joe, I feel like, has earned a place here in Boston. Like, I don't know who, if you fire him, who you're gonna get. Like, this is the thing when people say, "Hey, just fire him." Who are you gonna go get? like, look at the Lakers. Like, just like I know the Lakers are completely different
Oh God,
organization, cap space issues, LeBron old
it's
age.
a turnstile with a coaching position, man. Turnstile.
So you've seen their progression where they try to go get another person. Oh, okay, this guy didn't work. This guy didn't work. This guy didn't work. And at some point, it's like you got to look at yourself. Like, I'm not going to sit there. Like, the Lakers got to look at themselves and be like, yo, are we doing something wrong here rather than just trying to bring somebody in to please our stars or whatever the case may be? Joe's gotten to the Eastern Conference Finals. He got to the finals now. I don't know how many coaches you fire doing that. Like, like, unless they're just striking out all the time, like, I don't see how you fire him. I don't see that. So I know there's going to be people, if the Celtics lose, calling for Joe to be fired. That's not what I want to do. It's just going to be around the fringes because this roster is pretty much what you want in the NBA as a roster, right? Like, you want 2 stars that can go get it. You want a third complimentary guy that can go get it. You have defenders at every position. Why would I try to be like, oh, we need to break this team up? No, you already made the changes to the team from the last year. What happened last year? This is the team. So for the next couple of years, this should be the team. I'm not going to say any drastic changes need to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I maybe you would. I think
Maybe you would explore.
upgrading at the coaching position, depending on how they lose. But I don't see it. I don't see it where they get beat like in 4 games or 5 games. I think they're going to go the distance. So I guess
Missoula should be good in that sense.
My thing again is just like, who are you going to hire? Who's out
exactly. Well, yeah, I don't know who's available or what they can do. So.
Like that's what, like when people just say, "Oh, fire him." I'm like, when people say fire Doc Rivers, I'm like, well, who are you going to go get? Oh, Nick Nurse. Yeah, Nick Nurse was available because Toronto went to absolute shit. Like, that came out of nowhere. They got a good coach. If they didn't get him, it was probably going to be Coach Budenholzer. They were going to probably try to get him. But it's like, who else are you going to go get? Like those, like the back in the day, like maybe a decade ago, these coaches were out there. Now, I don't know. It's usually taking a chance on somebody's assistant, usually somebody out the woodworks, former player, former analyst, whatever the case may be. It's like that whole mindset of, hey, let's just fire the coach. Like, yo, like, what are you going to go do? Bad organizations have the chance to do that because mainly they just covers up bad organizational moves, roster changes. You fucked up. And then the coach takes the blame for it. So bad organizations are able to do that carousel of coaching. When you're at the top like this, I'm not sure that's acceptable. So it's like that whole fire thing. I'm like, it just depends who's out there. Like I've said when Brad Stevens stepped down, I was like, when Greg Popovich was kind of like, he didn't re-sign with the Spurs as yet. I was like, hey, make a run at Greg Popovich. Go get that guy. Go get that guy with infrastructure who has been to multiple championships, coached 51 teams, doesn't care about who's the star or not. Go get that guy. Ime Udoka came out of nowhere. And after I heard about Ime Udoka working with Team USA, being a Coach Popovich tree, he was in Brooklyn and Philly, I was like, yo, go get Ime Udoka. Like, yeah, that's the great hire. And people were questioning him. I'm like, trust me, that guy knows how to coach. You don't be an assistant from Greg Popovich underneath his tree and learning like that and just be bad. Coach Bud was underneath him as well. I'm like, these guys aren't bad coaches. So when that happened and then the whole thing fell into Joe Mazzulla, I'm like, okay, this is what we got to do right now. And maybe that would have been a better idea to hire a coach then, but it's like, yo, he's kind of found his footing with this team. Like, I don't think you just cut him out when they kind of built off of his philosophy of shooting threes, spacing. Like, that's what he does. Like, that's what this team is made up of. So I don't, like, it. People just saying fire the coach, I'm like, nah, I'm not with that. I just can't be with that.
Yeah, I mean, and
the personnel, their core is intact. I don't think they had to make any decisions about their core until not this next season, but the season after that, when all the second apron kicks in and all that. They got a lot of cap checks, so they might have to make some tough decisions then.
I think the only move they have to make is signing White, because I think that's the only move they really have to do. And I don't know what number that's going to be.
They got to lock him in.
That's pretty much it. That's pretty much it.
Everybody, they say Tatum. We know Tatum's getting the bag this summer. Brown already got his. Porzingis got the extension. Holiday got the extension.
So they're all good there. All right, man. We can wrap it up now. You want to plug your pod in? Before we,
Yeah, that is
sign
the
off.
Soapbox Net. That's the Soapbox Network on Spotify and YouTube. The Basketball Soapbox on Spotify, on YouTube. I have a wrestling podcast as well, Ring Takes. Um, I have my episode with you that I put up the other day. Yeah, just talking basketball, wrestling for right now, and trying to expand and grow and have more guests. Of course, you came on as well, so looking to have you on more. I need to figure out a time that works for you for our wrestling podcast because you are a big wrestling fan. Is that a Cactus Jack shirt you have on? So definitely trying to get
Sir, you
people
already
on
know.
with you. So
Yeah, let me
definitely,
know, man.
yeah. But
Hey, did you see the episode that dropped yesterday? Who killed WCW? The
Dark Side of the Ring documentary. It's on
I did
YouTube. I'm
not
gonna
see
watch
it.
it. I'm gonna watch it after
Yeah,
this.
yeah. Yeah, it's on YouTube. I saw it on YouTube, so definitely it's in my watch later list. So I will be checking that
Yeah,
out.
it was. Well, all right, man. Again, I appreciate.
Appreciate you for coming on. Good luck to your Celtics, man. We will talk throughout the week. Hey, if you need me in your pod, throughout the final.
Reach out to me. I'm here. I'm always just watching TV, taking
Yep.
notes and everything, so I can do that for you, man. All right, my
All right,
brother.
cool.
Take care.
Thanks. Yep, take care,
Sure.
man. Have a good one.